Hello everyone, it's Graham Coath with another My Music. Hope you're all well wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Today I'm going to be speaking to Rachael Bawn about her life in music. But first, let's play this video.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. We've spent a little while trying to get this interview together, haven't we?
Yes.
Because we've been like passing ships in the night.
Yes, but we're here.
We're here. We're definitely here. Rachel, and you're one of these people that have done the whole TikTok thing where you sing along to people playing various instrumentals, etc. What started you down that path? I'm always curious.
Yeah, it was a lot of everyone telling me I should be on TikTok, and that's
Right.
where some real exposure can happen. So I
Does
tried
it work?
for some people, not for me so far, not yet. But I kind of gave up, and I need to get back into it. Like it was during COVID, and I had the time. And I was doing duet videos. I was doing my own songs, playing guitar and singing. And I was trying to do different clips and find something that would stick and work. And I started doing these really cute videos with my family, like my nieces and nephews that I have a ton of, and seeing if they can sing. And those videos did pretty well. So I try to do more of them. But I only have so much family that I can get through. So I don't know. It was a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time. For me, I found not much reward. But then I kind of gave up and I've gotten busy, but I really do want to get back into it. It was fun. It sort of became not fun after a while, and it felt like, why am I doing this if I'm not having fun and it's not really doing anything?
I think a lot of artists struggle with the same thing because ultimately I think a lot of artists look at what everybody else is doing and think I've got to do that. And
It's
really true, yeah. And it's actually about trying to find your vehicle, which is slightly different from everybody else's. But I think part of the problem is that almost the industry and advice and everything else says there's a way to do it. Do you think that's the case? Is that part of
Yeah,
the problem?
I think we're always trying to find the formula, what's going to work, what's going to take off. And it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of error. But I do think there is a lane for everybody. I think there's enough space for everyone. It's just finding that lane and having the people find you. So it's using the hashtags and trying to utilize the tool because that's what it is. But it can be challenging until you finally find that thing that clicks. But I do think it's necessary and helpful.
It is. It is. I mean, it's quite useful to look at what other people are doing in a way and trying to get that. But the one thing that works really, really well is the element of surprise. When we don't know that it's going to happen, and it's kind of a surprise to us, then that's when it comes in. That's when it works. When I was young, I never needed any. Now you see, if you'd have started singing them, and we duetted together, that would have been a wonderful surprise.
Oh, do you want to try again?
I don't mind. I can if you do. When I was young, which key do you want?
That can work. Wait.
Yeah.
When I was young, I never needed
anyone.
I gotta find the harmony. Yeah. Are we gonna be famous now?
That has just made us famous. Just that little bit. Just that little bit right there.
Yeah. Finally.
At long last. At long last.
We've arrived.
What got you into making music in the first place?
I've always made music. I started writing songs when I was a kid. just for fun. It was mostly about like my cute baby cousins and stuff. And then I remember hearing on the radio that Enrique Iglesias started writing when he was 13. And I was 13
Wow.
and I was like, I gotta go. I'm already behind. So I started writing songs and they were really bad, like terrible. Like I was copying Britney Spears and those people I was listening to at the time. But it's a muscle and you have to work it and get life experience so you can actually write about something. But I just always sang. I always wanted to be a singer. I was a really big Disney kid and I wanted to be Ariel and Belle and sing all those songs. And I just always wanted to be a singer. There's never been anything else.
You see, that's the thing. I don't think there's such a thing as bad. I think it's just before, you know. I think we should start transplanting the word bad with before, and then everything's fine. Because if we understand that it's a journey and we're on that journey, what you have to have the before you get to good. You have to have good before you get to brilliant. You have to get brilliant before you get to amazing, and whatever the next
It's all
term is.
practice.
It's all practice.
It's all practice. It's learning. I mean, especially with songwriting, it's learning when is structure important and helpful, and when can you throw it out the window, and having it as a tool to sit down and be able to put your emotions into something, I think is really healthy and really good. And that's where the best songs come from. Like the worst times of my life is when I've written the best songs, or when I've been the most frustrated or upset. And it's easier to write songs from that place, but to be able to have that is such a gift. And with singing, I always thought I don't need singing lessons because I can already sing. And then I worked with a producer who was like, no, you should start taking some singing lessons and just get better. You have raw talent, but you need to hone it. And so I started seeing a vocal coach, and I still see him every once in a while, just for a tune up, because I have found everything has improved since I've started working on it. And it's been really important for me to always want to be the best that I can be. And so learning technique and learning to project and when to use dynamic and how to do that in a way that doesn't wreck your voice, and like my range and everything has grown over the years. And so I think it's so important, to just start somewhere, whether it feels good or sounds good or what.
The other thing about vocal coaches, which is quite interesting, is that quite often that they pick up on bad habits. Yeah. And especially, you know, if you had if you had a childhood where you were listening to, and there's no, I'm not saying anything bad about Britney Spears or you know, Disney princesses or whatever, but if you had a childhood listening to someone who's got such a unique voice as Britney Spears, there's the temptation in one's head to, you know, do that thing with your voice to make you sound a little bit like Britney Spears, and then you know that doesn't necessarily
we
fit
definitely
your
have
voice,
influences, right? For sure. And you do pick up on little things they do. Like when I was a teenager and I first started, actually my vocal coach, this is so funny you're saying this. My vocal coach, when I first started seeing him, it's called a vocal fry, the thing that Britney Spears does, like the, oh, baby. And so I started adopting that now. And my vocal coach was like, why are you doing a vocal fry? Like, you don't need to do that right now. Like, just use your normal voice. And I was like, oh, like, you don't even realize until someone points it out. You just think that's how I sing. We don't even recognize how we pick up on these things and start to use it ourselves.
That little clip right there, which we're going to pick out with the vocal fry with the Britney. You see, that's the bit that will go viral. See?
Okay, I'm
see
gonna
how
be so
famous. It just exactly. It just comes up from behind you and just, you know, you just don't know you're doing it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of what you were listening to outside of that, as you got into music, what inspired you in your writing?
In my writing, I started to notice singers that were telling a story and actually writing about something that felt real. I think you get to an age where you start to experience life a little bit more. Like it's hard as a teenager when you don't have so much experience to write about. You think high school's the worst and that's about it. That's all your focus. And boys and girls, whatever. But
I wrote about Tolkien. I didn't
get there. I never wrote about
nerd. I just like read all of these big books and I thought, you know, so I just like had mythical creatures and
yeah, that sounds fun.
You know?
That sounds fun.
Yeah. It meant
I didn't get
it
there.
it 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 influenced the music a little bit, though. That's the only thing. We tended to go off into sort of like 20-minute epics just to unwind and tell these stories, and face makeup and lots of costumes and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But everyone has to start somewhere.
When are we going to see that on TikTok?
Oh, it's probably already there.
I'm gonna look for it.
So you were saying that you didn't have the life experiences. So but you enjoyed listening to people, or you understood that you enjoyed listening to people that tell stories. So did you
Yeah,
pick up
yeah.
some of
I
the kind of
really,
nuances of storytelling then?
yes. Something that actually makes you feel connected, like, oh, I know what that feels like. I know what that means. And so I started to pay attention to that. I'm like, I want to make people feel that. I don't want to just write for the sake of writing, just to make music. I want it to have meaning, because I think that's how you really connect with people. And I don't think you should do anything that doesn't mean something. So I started really paying attention to Elton John and the lyrics in his songs that him and Bernie wrote. And I started to pay attention to other artists that like my parents were listening to, like from the 80s and 70s, and recognizing that they're actually telling a lot of stories. Even though I've heard these songs a million times or still on the radio, when you listen to the lyrics of like 70s and 80s rock band music, like they tell a lot of stories, and there's a lot of heartbreak there. So I just started to notice that, and I started to try to write from a place that was real and meant something.
Yeah, I like that. For me, early on, one of the first. I'm gonna make an admission now. One of the first artists that I really gravitated towards was, and he was in the 80s, was Nick Kershaw. Because I felt that Nick Kershaw, he was making pop records, but he was making pop records that actually had some kind of real depth to them, both in terms of the actual music. He'd put key changes in there and use harmonies and things which some other people weren't doing, and he had like proper guitar solos and stuff like that. But also, some of the things that he was singing about were just seemed to be a lot deeper, or had more depth to them as well than some people that were just sort of telling us to love somebody or whatever. And
What's
it
one of
was
his biggest songs?
One of his biggest songs would be "I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." Do you know that one?
Oh,
I
okay.
won't let the sun go down on me. I won't let the sun go down. You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know the
yeah,
name. But
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of meaning there. It sounds like a simple concept, but when you think about it, there's depth there.
There's a lot of depth there. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, absolutely. And I, and from there on in, it was like I was trying to find people that were like had that depth, because I think
Yeah.
that's important. As someone you to look to as a songwriter. Sure, if all you want to do is make pop that has kind of like something to dance to or whatever,
Mhm.
fine. But if
Mhm.
you want to write songs that actually draw people in and have different meanings for different people as well, I mean,
Mhm.
that's the other great thing. There's
Mhm.
I'm kind of drawn to ambiguity as well. Are you kind of drawn to ambiguity in lyrics, or do you want the story to be told straight?
I like both. I like both. I do like a universal idea. I think you can always put your own meaning into something, and that's what makes a great song. Is it even if someone's telling a specific story, there's still elements you can probably relate to and put your own meaning into.
Yeah. And so then I want to know further down the path. So as you started off there, but were there, as you then started listening to other stuff, where did that go? Where did your ear go then?
I It's interesting because I have this conversation with a lot of people that are not into music, like making music. Um, like one of my sisters never listens to lyrics, never pays attention to lyrics. It's the first thing I notice. When I hear a song for the first time, I'm listening for lyrics and I'm listening for vocals. And then I hear everything after that, because that's what I do, write lyrics and sing songs. So I listen for that. And so I'm drawn to different artists for different reasons. It might be the storytelling, like with Taylor Swift. It might be the vocals, like for Tori Kelly. And then I'm pulling from both. I'm drawing from both. And they're very different artists with very different focuses and different careers. But I find inspiration from different people for different reasons. So it's not always just, oh, I like this song. It's like, I really like how she sings this or he sings this. Or I really like these lyrics. That's really clever. And so I find inspiration there. So then, like, once I got a little bit older, I started looking for different things in different artists. And so, like, and my favorite singer is Tori Kelly. I think she is unreal, can sing anything. It's effortless. Her technique is incredible. Her runs are amazing. She is so talented, and I think she should be bigger than she is. But yeah, so there's a lot of different bands and artists I'm drawn to for different reasons.
Yeah. So if someone's got a very unique voice, or a voice that just makes the song stand out, however the song is, just because of the vocal delivery, you're kind of drawn to that.
Yeah, like Celine Dion. Oh, she was one of my biggest influences growing up. And so when I was singing in a choir, and we would have our recitals, and we get to do a solo, I would almost always pick a Celine Dion song. Every time, never failed.
But again, not with the Celine Dion isms in it.
I would mimic those for sure.
You would mimic those, yeah. So,
yeah. And I think I learned a lot, though, because it stretched my range, and it stretched how I was doing runs and all that kind of stuff, because I was learning. It's like when you're growing up and you're figuring out your instrument, you have to listen to others so that you can learn how they do it. And then I think it can be easy to get lost in that and start mimicking. If you're not able to. But
if you focus on things like the breathing or whatever, if you can, if you actually listen and watch them, and you go, oh, actually, they're managing to hold that note for longer because of the way that they deliver it and their breath, etc. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's fun, isn't it? It's fun. I bet there's people listening that have never played this game before. There's a whole world here which you're completely missing out on.
Yeah.
Right. Trust me. When you get into singing, then you really focus on how singers deliver. It's fascinating. It's an absolutely fascinating thing. It's
hard. It's not easy to sing and do it well. My vocal coach likes to say it's the same as talking. Like when you're born, you're just mimicking what you hear. You're not being taught technique. And so a lot of people have just natural vocal strain because they're not speaking properly and using your vocal cords properly and breathing properly. And we never learn that. And so by the time you're 80 years old, your voice is hoarse, and it's like there's damage to it. And it's the same with singing. Like if you're not even screamo, like that's technique. That's not just them screaming their brains out. Like there's technique there.
Because otherwise they'd only do it one night.
Yeah, it's not sustainable if you're not using proper technique, and you won't have a career. So having a vocal coach has honestly, like, his name is Falconer Abraham. He's amazing. I've known him since I was a little baby at 18 years old, and he is amazing, and just has taught me so much, not only as a vocalist, but like about myself and my own instrument, because we all have different sounds and different, like he likes to say my voice is more lyrical. So I can't actually get like a raspy, edgy sound. Just naturally, I don't have that. I could probably fake it, but it's not sustainable, because then I'm not using my instrument the way it's meant to be used. So learning your own voice or your own instrument and growing in that is really important.
And protecting it along the way. Now, if that's the way you listen to music, and you kind of gravitate first and foremost to the singer, how does that translate over when you write music? Do you start with a vocal line, or do you start with something else?
It's different every time. It depends what I'm inspired by. Like if I'm just sitting down in my room playing guitar, then I'll probably come up with a melody line first. If I'm in a studio session with other people, we're trying to come up with a concept typically first and foremost. And so you're working with words and you're working with ideas until you land on something and you flesh it out. It's different every time. Like just maybe 2 weeks ago, I was on a walk and I was just thinking about like, this is my brain, seasons, and like, because the trees are all dead and it's snowy here right now in Canada. So I was just thinking about like seasons and the meaning behind that and how like that is life, and it has seasons, and some of them are hard and some of them are for growing and some of them are for letting things go and dying. I was just thinking of the symbolism there. And so I had come up with a couple lines and a melody, and I never take my phone with me usually when I'm out on a walk. And I had my phone with me that day. And so I was able to pull it out and sing into it. And then I got home and I got my guitar out and I started figuring out the right key and kind of working with the melody that I had come up with. And so it just depends where I am, what I'm hearing, what I'm inspired by, or if I'm going through something and I'm quite literally crying, I'll sit down and after I've composed myself, be like, there's a song here, and try to work something out. So it just depends. Sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's a melody. It differs.
What about sounds? Because sounds are another element to music. Do you get quite invested in the sound of it within songs yourself, or is that something you prefer to leave to a producer? Do you prefer to like work on the embodiment, if you like, of a song and then go, actually, if it's going to have a ooh there or a there or whatever there, I'd like you to do that?
Yeah. I don't get too hung up on that stuff because I'm not a producer. So I typically do focus on like I want the vocals to be perfect and I want the lyrics to really land with people. So I'll focus more on that stuff. And I do trust the producer. Because when you're working with someone, it's typically because you've had a connection in some way. And so I do trust them, but I'll definitely say like, oh, I don't know if I really like that sound there, or like want it to sound a little more like this. But we also have a conversation before like they'll start production and be like, this is kind of the mood we're going for, the vibe, the sound. And then if I don't like something and it really stands out to me, I'll say it. But typically I don't really get hung up on that stuff.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guests recently talk about how they, with a producer, they actually create a playlist first of maybe influences. Do you do that as well? Do you go, well, actually, I'd like this to one, I'd like the guitar to sound a little bit like Fleetwood Mac, or I'd like I'd like the drums to sound a little bit like Metallica. Probably not both together because it might not go. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I only did that for the first time this past summer. I went to LA to work with this producer, Justin Gray, and he asked me to put together a playlist first. We hadn't met in person before. We had talked in emails and had a couple phone calls, but he said, put together a playlist. Doesn't matter what it is, who it is. It can be something from Adele, and then there can be something from, Meatloaf, Metallica, whatever it is. And he's like, and I'll try to find the common threads there. And so I did. I put together a playlist. I sent it to him, and he came back and said, "Okay, I can tell that you really like more simple verses and then a really big epic chorus." And I was like, "Yeah, that's true." So it's amazing how
it's quite liberating. Yeah, quite a liberating experience that then.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. And I did give some notes. I was like, oh, I might have chose this song because of this, but he came back after and said, this is what I got from this. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. That's really cool.
What's the hardest part of the music business for you? Is it, I mean, it sounds like you enjoy doing the writing and everything else, but what part of the being a musician, being a recording artist, do you find the hardest bit? The
business. I'm not business minded. I have had a really hard time with figuring out, it's everything from having to think about money, and like here you can apply for grants in Canada. We have a pretty good government arts program. And even when I was signed to a record label in New York, it was a joint venture. So they still expected me to be doing a lot of the stuff myself, which was really hard because I'm like just really a creative, and I can learn, and I am capable when I have to be, but I don't enjoy that side of things. And I would rather have someone else do that for me and just keep me in the loop. so yeah, learning the business and having to deal with lawyers and contracts and getting money and then business plans and marketing plans, like all that stuff is not my favorite. Not at
I
all.
think that's the same. I actually think that's the same for a lot of business people. And I don't think it just fits into the stall of musicians. I actually think there's a lot of business people out there who are started their business because they are creative in one sense or another. They may have come up with an idea, or they come up with ideas that the world needs.
Yeah.
And they want to execute those ideas, but all the rest of it, that, you know, like having to do your figures and having to fill this in and having to sort that out, is not them. It's
Yeah.
just their focus is just over there. In a sense, it's about creating a team around you, is it not? That can work with you. Are you? Do you feel like you're getting there with finding the team?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a journey. I've had so many teams over the years, people that have come and gone and opportunities that have come and gone. And so since I've left the record label, I feel like I am starting to, that was like during COVID. So I feel like just now I'm starting to finally have a team and like get back into doing things and see things moving as an independent artist, because you have to have a team, because I can't do it all. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I just want to show up and sing, and that's just not how things work. So I have a great manager, funny enough, who's from the record label I left. We stayed in touch, and he reached out to me just in the fall and was like, "Hey, I'm getting into management. I'd love to manage you." And so he's really great with the business side. And I do have people that have even just offered to be sounding boards and like, yeah, they're in business or whatever, and have an accountant and like all those things. But yeah, it's tough. So you need people, and none of us do this alone. Like when you see someone as an artist, even like me, a solo artist, I do nothing myself. I work with songwriters and producers. I have a manager. I have usually a team of people helping me with everything. So I think that's the one thing people forget, is like an artist it's not just them. And if it is, like, my hat's off to those people. There are some I have come across that get the business side of things, do most things by themselves, and somehow make it work. But that's not me, and I need my people.
Yeah, well, I've met a few of those on here. They are people that obviously work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, and can
It's a
exist
lot.
on thin air. Yeah, they
It is a
literally
lot.
can exist on thin air. They don't have time to eat. You know,
Yeah.
it's amazing actually that I can normally see them on the screen. They should be just like wafer thin, but there you go.
Yeah.
What's 2024 going to hold for you? What's the next phase for you?
Well, since I'm getting things moving again as an independent artist, yeah, it's really just like putting that team in place, which is starting to happen. I'm starting to see it really take form. I'm writing and recording demos of new music, and some of it old music that I never did anything with, and so I went back and finished stuff and was able to record demos. So it's exciting because I always had like, it was always important for me to be an artist that makes music with a message that has meaning, and that will always be true. That's very important to me always. Um, but I never really explored the songs that I wrote about boys or relationships or life. Like, I've been through a lot and written songs about it. And so I'm finally letting myself not completely step away from being like an artist with a message, but I'm letting myself record songs that like are just, about a boy or whatever, because I never really released those, but I have those experiences. So I'm kind of not, I guess I'm going in a new direction, like from what I did before. Like, it sounds different. It feels different. It's a lot more of me, like, just sitting down and writing songs on guitar by myself. Like, I've always worked with songwriters, but I've always written these songs by myself. And so when we're in a session, it's like, oh yeah, let's write this song, and that's going to make the album, or that's going to be the next single. And I don't often like bring those songs to the table that I've just written by myself. So I'm starting to explore that, and it's a different sound. Like, it's more singer-songwriter. like I kind of want to reference Sheryl Crow, like where she's a little bit more singer-songwriter, a little bit country, and a little bit rock. Because that's I think where I want to go and get away from the more poppy stuff.
And why not? Because all you wanna do is have some fun. And I was thinking, I'm not the only one. Now, right at the beginning of this, I tried to get you to sing All by Myself. And I was thinking just then, when you were saying all of that, I was thinking there will be a great title when you have completed this and it's all together as an album. There's a great title for the album, All by Myself, because that's what you will have done. You will have brought it all together all by yourself in a kind of new and fantastic way. And maybe that is, maybe you've rewritten the classic.
Maybe.
There you go.
And if that's the title of my album or EP or whatever, I'll give you the credit.
Oh, thank you so much. It probably
and you'll be
won't
famous.
But if it is, then it won't be.
I think I always relied on other people very heavily. I think I didn't trust myself to be able to do it. I think I always thought everyone else knows better. And I want to learn from people, and I want to do things right, which usually led to me doing things wrong and not making the right choice, not going in the right direction, not bringing in the right people, because I listened to everyone else around me for so long, which is a good thing. And I've learned a lot, but I've also made a lot of mistakes because I trusted other people more than I trusted myself. So I'm learning, I think you're right. Like all by myself is kind of a theme. Like I'm learning that I do know some things. I'm not 18 years old anymore, and I've had a lot of experiences, and it's been really hard, and it's been a really long journey. But at this point, like I just want to make the music I want to make. I want to work with the people I want to work with, and I want to have fun doing it. And I think I've gotten to a point where I can trust myself more, and that I do know some things, and I've been through it. So here we go.
I think it's going to be a very exciting year for you, Rachel. I look forward to seeing you do what you need to do. Come out of your shell and blossom as an artist in 2024.
Yeah, it sort of feels like oh my gosh, I'm referencing Hilary Duff. She had an album called Metamorphosis. Anyways, yeah.
Hilary Duff. There's a name from the past.
Remember Hilary?
Of course. Cheaper by the dozen. All of those wonderful films with Steve Martin. Where she played, she played the eldest daughter. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see.
Yeah, coming out of the shell, metamorphosis, whatever it is, I want to. Yeah, Frank Sinatra, do it my way.
Oh, I love that, Rachel. It's been a pleasure talking to you. For anyone who hasn't checked out Rachel's music, please go and do it now. We shall put some links to the various bits on this as it goes out, and expect to see her Britney Spears impersonation going viral across the interweb very shortly. Which, if that breaks your career, and you suddenly become massive just because of that 2 seconds, who knows? I will never be able to. Well, then no, and then I'll never be able to make sense of what does go and what doesn't go viral out there. It's just a crazy thing. No, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank your manager for putting us in touch as well. That's a wonderful thing. Everybody, it's been a wonderful Rachael Bawn. If you've enjoyed this, folks, please do like, share, repeat, and all of that sort of thing. Share it with your friends, your family, your dog, and all of that. You can find this if you haven't already, because you're listening to it now, on Spotify, as well as the YouTube and everything else. We will be seeing you soon for more of my music. Until then, thanks for listening. Bye for now.